What's up, guys? It's been a long time here, and I'm finally settled into my new place, and I got my whole new studio set up, and I'm pretty happy about it. So, really glad to be back. Join me and my friend Riley as we catch up on everything that's happened between this episode and the previous episode that I released for you guys. We have some banter, we talk about the games we've played, and we talk about some of the ongoings in the news in the world. It's not very structured at the time being, but the podcast is going to pick up and it's going to be great. Everyone's going to love it. Join us as we talk about the CIA's most top secret program, sanctioned in 1953. It was given the highest level of classified, Ultra. Join me and Riley as we discuss MK Ultra. Recording. Okay, so good to be back. My name's Samuel. What's your name?
I'm Riley, or
Yeah.
Cabbage.
Definitely Cabbage all the way. Yeah, and this is podcast number 4. It's been a minute. I have had a lot of stuff going on in my life, but I'm now in my new digs. I got my vibe set up. I got things on the wall. I got stuff on the side ledge of the house that was built weird in the 70s. So here we are, ready to roll. Boom. First way we do this every time is what we've been doing in video games for the last while. So, Riley, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of Apex Legends. Just been trying to not grind ranked and play solos in pubs. That's about it. Been
So,
losing my mind. Insanity.
yeah, how have you been liking it? I know it's just really different this season.
Um, I like the maps. Like World's Edge is cool. I like that. Like for pubs, all 3 maps are in rotation this season. It's not just one's neglected to be played on ranked or something.
Right.
But Seer, ooh, that's a vibe killer.
Is
You
it?
just have like, ooh, man, he yeah, he has wall hacks like as a passive. He can just ADS and it's like he can kind of guess where you are.
Right.
And then he cancels heals, which is a big pain in the butt.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're making some weird decisions with that game. I honestly haven't been into it in like a couple seasons, right? Like I used to play it pretty
Yeah.
religiously for like the first 4 seasons. I just nonstop. That
Yeah.
was the game I played. And
Well,
then
that's where we met back in the console days.
that's right, man. Back when I was cracked, because I was like a day one player. But yeah, then I just fell out of it for a while. Plus, like life has to happen, right? And work on my career and
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I've been trying to do like a couple one-offs and like other smaller games.
Mhm.
But you know,
What have you been playing?
well, I haven't played too much Apex. I think I popped on and did some arenas since the season started. And
Mhm.
then what have I been playing? Been playing the game of life a lot. Like I'm helping with this new project at work, which is these 2 apartment buildings, and it's just in the
Yeah.
infancy stages right now. So all the concrete forming and stuff's going up, but I've been
Yeah.
doing really good with that. Yeah,
Nice.
getting lots
Just
of
busy.
props. Yeah, and then like it's keeping life real, right? And then I don't know, just
Mm.
dealing with the whole COVID lockdown, vaccines, hanging
All
out.
of it.
Yeah, then I had to move my house, and I've been doing this. But I did play. What was I playing? I don't know. I played the Stanley Parable. Have you ever heard of the Stanley
Yeah.
Parable?
Yeah.
Okay, that game was
Ryan
outrageous.
showed me that actually.
Yeah, it was a wicked game. And then I did a play. I finally finished my playthrough of Resident Evil Village just last week here,
Ooh.
and I was literally 30 minutes away from the end when I stopped playing like 5 weeks ago. But yeah, finally
That's so
finished
much
it
pain.
off. Dude, it was literally painful, but pretty cool game overall. I really like what they did with it. It's obviously leading
Mhm.
into a sequel, and I don't know. I guess I don't know how it's going to go with the next one. Have you played it yet?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. Well, I won't do any spoilers, but clearly there's going to be a sequel, and there might be a person with superpowers as the main character, or the villain, most likely the villain, but still really
Yeah.
interesting. It did a really good job of like establishing like an emotional connection for me and like getting me stressed out and invested. There is a
Yeah.
part where, because you spend like most of the game looking for your baby, and
Hmm.
I heard a baby crying, and I was like, "That's my baby!" And I ran around, and no, it was a giant baby monster trying to kill me, and that literally destroyed my soul.
You're like, no, I thought this was it. I thought
Oh,
this was the light at
100%,
the end of the tunnel.
100% the scariest part of that game, man. It was disgusting. And then what else
Yeah.
have I played? I know I've played some like weird one-offs.
Did you
Yeah,
ever try the Splitgate? It came out. It's like a beta right now.
is that the one where you like teleport around and it's like a BR?
It's arena mode type shit, but
Okay.
it's like there's portals and you can it's round based
Yeah, I have
games.
seen that. It's like FPS Portal.
Mm.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. Have you?
I played it for like an hour the other night with my friend, and like, God, it was fun, but like once matchmaking caught up, it wasn't fun.
No? Why? What's wrong with the matchmaking?
Oh no, just like I had a couple good games. It was like, oh, I'm popping off. Ooh, fun. And then it was like all of a sudden I saw there's like a guy who's been grinding this game. He was level 50 or 80 or like something on the team, and I got wrecked. I was like, oh God.
You
They
just
just
get
know the
annihilated.
angles.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's messed
Well,
up.
like, you can shoot through portals. So if you like have a portal on one wall and then a portal way over on the other side of the map, like you can stay on this side of the map and shoot through that portal. And it's
Right.
like so map knowledge is huge, and I don't have it.
Yeah. No. I mean, I could imagine. It's going to be a really high skill barrier to entry on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about any other? I never did. Final Fantasy Integrate is finally out too, and I no longer play PlayStation. But I gotta check a playthrough because I'm pretty sure that's out now, or it was supposed to come out this
Mhm.
month.
I wanted to check out Final Fantasy, but yeah, I don't have a PlayStation either.
Yeah. Did you like watch any playthroughs or get any information off of the 7 remake?
Nope.
Oh man.
No.
I actually
Oh.
recommend it. It's pretty cool. It's a whole new spin on it, and it's basically a parallel universe.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
do you know about the whole story arc?
Little bit, not down to the bits, but
Well, something really interesting happens to the character Zack in this game,
okay.
right? And he was like
Yeah.
Cloud's when Cloud basically became like half schizophrenic and like assimilated this dude's personality into his own, and then like came up
Mhm.
with a whole background story about his time with Soldier, and yeah, yeah. So
I'm
this
gonna
one's
have to
super
watch that.
tense. But yeah, apparently Integrate is about Yuffie, one of the side characters. She's kind of like a little ninja thief rogue type character.
Okay.
Yeah, and she has a death boomerang.
Death Boomerang.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Can imagine.
So that's a game. So you've been grinding the Apex. Apex is losing its
Yeah.
flavor.
Yeah. Not for me. I still like it.
Yeah,
I
you
just
love
want
it.
to. I just. I want a team. I need to. I want to play ranked more, but I just can't solo past diamond. So
Cody's building a team, and he can't find someone he can keep.
Cody.
Cody, Chansey.
Oh, fuck, Chansey.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. I
he's
played with
trying.
him once, but
He's like in tournaments and stuff. He's grinding ranked right now.
yeah, I'll have to hit him up. I
He's
don't know
pretty
what
cracked.
rank he
Yeah,
is.
look into it. He's been trying to build a
No.
team, and like they always struggle with like IGL, but he is pretty knowledgeable about the game, and he's good at calling himself out on his mistakes.
Yeah,
So
but
um,
he's looking for IGL. Is that what he's looking for?
he's probably if I would think he's gonna be the IGL. He's looking for
Okay, thank
teammates.
God.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know.
he just needs
Gonna have
someone
to.
who's gonna actually like stick around and like ready to take it seriously because he wants to hit that barrier. He wants to hit the professional level. It's kind of like one of his life dreams.
Yeah. Well, that's something I want to work to, because like I've only been playing on MNK since like season 7, so I'm just getting like
Yeah,
hours into it.
he started just after you, but he's cracked.
Yeah.
Sometimes I watch him play, and I'm like, I think I'm watching Fade, literally.
Yeah. Like I've been trying to get all the little shit down, like all the movement tech. Like I got down. I just can't fucking solo diamond. I just cry.
Yeah, soloing Diamond sounds pretty impossible to me. I think farthest I've ever made it solo was Plat, and that's where
Mhm.
you just get locked in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
after that, you need like a really good team or like, brains and aim.
Yeah.
And for me,
Sometimes.
I can't hit anything. All I could do is think. And then even then, as
Yeah.
soon as the pressure hits, it's like, okay, now my IQ is like 40.
Yeah. I know. Like, man, it's been a tough week for me. I've just been trying to like do more solos, and because like I'm like I've been I got platinum in rank like the first week of the season, and then I was just going against like crack teams, and I just couldn't keep up. So I just started playing solos, like solo trios and stuff this week, and trying to just work on like my aim and all that. But fuck, man, my
Right.
brain cells are diminishing so quickly.
Solid. So what else has been happening in the world now? We're gonna do like the news segment area.
Segment.
Have you heard anything about the world?
I know there's a lot of fires. we've had a lot of fire bans around here,
Dude,
man.
in Kelowna, I haven't seen the sky in like months.
Bro, I couldn't imagine. That's why I
Yeah,
wanted to bring it up.
dude. I mean, it's we've had a couple clear days where you see a little bit of blue above you, but it's still white all around the
You're
horizon.
like, am I in a simulation today?
Dude, yeah, it's like Silent Hill. It's been this way all summer. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, like probably the last like 3 weeks for us, it's like cleared up nice. Like you
right.
don't notice it
Were you
anymore, but
guys in
like,
the heat dome? No,
oh
dude, it
God,
got to like
we
54 here
yeah, we got to
Celsius
like
for you Americans.
41, 42. But
Yeah.
yeah, like
No, that was our
you,
that was like you wake up, it was like 40 degrees and you're like, "Oh, thank God, it's
yeah,
kind of cold out." And then you go throughout the day and it get up to like 47 and then yeah, one day 54 degrees down in the
yeah.
concrete pit I was working in. And
Oh
like
my God.
yeah, and I'm a general contractor, so I don't work nearly as hard as some of the guys we had on site that just weren't
Oof,
weren't going home, man. Like, when it gets that
no.
hot, everyone has the right to refuse, but everyone also has bills to pay and it's just nuts. There should have been
Yeah.
hazard pay, honestly, for having guys out there.
Oh man. Anything over 40 and
Yeah.
like you're in like full safety gear, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's hard.
Dude, our Mexicans, we had some Mexicans. It was too hot for them. Yeah, they were dying.
They were like, no comprende.
Yeah, way too
Oh man.
hot. And then
Yeah.
yeah, what else is new in the world?
I think there's like a earthquake in Haiti recently again.
Again? I don't
Yeah.
think we should be surprised. That's kind of they're on a fault line. That's gonna like
Yeah.
consistently happen until their whole civilization is destroyed.
Yeah. Until they move. And
They won't. No, we'll live there. That's humans for you. Like Yellowstone. It's been supposed to erupt for like I don't know, the last
since
50 years.
2012.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, since the Mayans predicted. But yeah, no, but people still live there. You just can't talk them out of it. Or like you're in Vancouver or Florida, California, most of those places, we know for a fact
Hurricane.
the ocean's coming up like every year, and
Yeah.
within the next 20 years it's going to be unlivable. Most of those places are going to flood. And like I'll go down to Vancouver, they're not even building like a storm wall. They're just ready to lose all of downtown. It
No,
blows my
they'll
mind.
they'll build another Starbucks first.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. A big one. Yeah, 5 story
Matt,
Starbucks.
that will protect the waters.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What
I
else
don't
is
know
new?
what else.
It's something I need to look into because it was supposed to happen, I believe, back in July. Ghislaine Maxwell was supposed to go to court, and I haven't looked into it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Miss Maxwell.
Jeffrey Epstein's
Mhm.
confidant or whatever,
Yeah,
co-conspirator,
yeah.
and
It's been, maybe she's dead now. Maybe she committed
that's what
suicide.
that was my guess on an earlier podcast. I was like, she's gonna suicide herself for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I gotta look into it, see what happened because like names were gonna get named for sure, like princes and stuff. So,
Oh yeah.
uh,
That's so wild. That's still so
dude,
wild.
I know. And then it's like I grew up, so my dad was like a big conspiracy guy, and
Yeah.
he just like every conspiracy, he was doing it. He prepped for 2012, and like
Yeah.
hard to blame him, especially their generation. I think about it all the time, like they're
Well, like Y2K and all
yeah
that in their
Y2K,
time.
but the pre-internet generation too, right? Like X's and Boomers.
Hmm.
They just they weren't exposed to it all the time, and then all of a sudden in 2001, there's like the World Trade Centers like die, and then we're going to war, and they're pretty sure that it's the end of the world, right? That's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Because like when you think about it, like World Trades, it's in North America, Western civilization. That's pretty much as close to home as it's gotten since any other significant event of war. And
Pearl Harbor. Like,
yeah, and then after that, there's so much communication and recommunication about what's happening in like that type of that specific event, and then no consensus, and then conspiracy theories arise, and then narratives arise, and then they all conflict. So anyways, my dad just kind of went on like a conspiracy binge, watched a lot of that Mystery Channel on satellite, unsolved mysteries and stuff, right?
yeah.
He was always into like aliens, Bigfoot, and
Mhm.
it's probably why I have a conspiracy podcast now. But yeah, and he always told me back in the day about like a plan to unite the world through a new world order, and like how it was all headed by these super powerful pedophiles. And I was like, okay. And then I believed him, and then I would like turn into a teenager. I started thinking for myself, and then I didn't buy it anymore. I was like, look, there's just too many moving parts. There's no way. And then that
Yeah.
happens, and Epstein is exposed, and I'm like, my whole world just get flipped on its head, and I'm like,
You're
okay,
just
so
like,
this is like
what?
actually a thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to
It's
keep looking into that. It's mind-boggling, man. Like the fact that people could just
the control of power
mm-hmm.
by a 0.1% is insane.
Yeah, I mean, mind-blowing.
Like Pizzagate, my goodness, like
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it's like
we're gonna have to do an episode on that one in this one because like, oh, I've listened to a bunch of that. It's just stuff I don't like covering though, because it's, I don't know, it's just a big trigger for me. You know,
mhm.
you hear
I
that,
get you.
yeah, and you don't even want to do a podcast about it. You just want to get out some pitchforks, go find some people, right?
The tiki tortures, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do halftime here. I'll pause my recording, and then we'll pick up the next half of the podcast on MK Ultra. And we're live again. Well, we're not live. We're recording. We should do a live pod one day just on Twitch, see how things are going.
Just chatting.
Yeah. Okay. So, like I said before the intermission there, it is time for MK Ultra. So, it's a pretty popular one, and a lot of people know a lot of stuff about it. Actually, it's that way with a lot of conspiracies, which is one of the reasons that I really like this genre. I listen to a couple different conspiracy podcasts, and it's just something I've always really enjoyed. And so I'm kind of trying to jump on the bandwagon here because it's just a blast to dive into this stuff with my friends.
Just go Alex Jones on everyone.
They're making the frogs gay.
Oh man.
Sandy Hook wasn't even real. Yeah, no, not quite that level. So, what do you what's your background knowledge on MK Ultra?
MK Ultra were, the projects that CIA hired to like do mind altering things on people, also just to like transcend propaganda, in my opinion.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean,
Short and sweet.
yeah, my base knowledge of this going in was basically mind control experiments from the CIA, right?
Mhm.
And that's a piece of it. Mind control is a good idea, but I mean they did a bunch of stuff here. So I'll run through kind of the cliff notes I brought up doing like my little research and looking in. So it was, I don't know, it's super disorganized cliff notes, so you're gonna have to forgive me, but the code name MK Ultra was a mind control and psychedelic research / memory implementation series of experiments or project, right? It was a project put up by the CIA, and it was sanctioned in 1953 and it ended in 1973. And the goals of MK Ultra were mind control and increased interrogation techniques, brainwashing, as in removing people's memories, which, by the way, was one of the pieces they had most success with. Basically, they learned that you can traumatize memories out of people. Who would have guessed? But yeah, they did a really good job. So they could make you forget stuff 100%. Yeah. And then interrogation techniques too. That actually, they tried it with a lot of different things like MDA, but one of the best, they came up with like all these truth serums and stuff that like removed basically like alcohol on drugs, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like it removes your social inhibitions to like keep secrets and stuff like that. And a lot of that was done and derived from things like MDMA. MDMA is to this day one of those, if you give it to people, they'll just be like, you want to hear my life story, bro? And so you do that to a Soviet spy or whatever, and then you're more likely to get a confession out of them or at least cooperation.
Yeah. Except for only has this going.
Yeah, except for all these things, they all stem from like World War II. So like the Nazis and the Soviets were doing these things, and the Japanese were doing experiments on like mind wiping in psychedelic experimentation and like trying to create mind control techniques and devices and interrogation during that time. And then when the Americans found out about it, that's when they jumped into this and jumped on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty crazy history. They also did psychological torture was a big piece of it, right? And again, that's why they had such a massive success with like brainwashing people, just removing memories.
Yeah.
And it was organized by the Office of Scientific Intelligence through the CIA. The methods that they used in order to accomplish these various tasks were the psychoactive drugs, right? Like MDMA, LSD. LSD was the big one. There was
Yeah.
actually an outrageous amount of LSD that was supplied and transported by the CIA.
Yeah.
And they started like buying this stuff in bulk from around the world because they heard that the Russians were doing that too, which they were. So you could basically have like intelligence agencies of Soviet Union at the time, like China and Russia,
Yeah.
and the Americans like competing for a global supply chain control over LSD. And this is back in like the like 50s through 60s. And then after
Yeah.
that was the hippie phase in the 70s where everyone's on LSD because there's just so much in supply. They decided to like sell it back to the public.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
they use psychoactive drugs, electroshock, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, verbal and sexual abuse, and torture in order to accomplish all these tasks. The institutions they conducted all of these experiments at were colleges and universities, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies were involved as well, and they also had like fronts later on, which we talk. I got this one under wrap, but like brothels, these brothels and other like unmarked locations, right? So just like little
yeah.
side businesses of mind control experiments. All these people too, they had like sanctions to do whatever they wanted from the CIA, and well, we'll get there, but even this stuff happened in Canada too. And actually, some of the worst parts of it happened in Canada. And there's also like a future case I'd like to get into on a lady from, I believe, Burnaby, British Columbia, who
Yeah.
whole life was destroyed as a consequence of these experiments. And I mean, like in a huge way. Like it's honestly, it's a big one, so I have to do a
Yeah.
lot of research. But like, I think she got MK Ultra'd,
Oh shit.
and like it worked big time. So this is, stay tuned everybody for future case file. Her name was Cindy, and I will tell you about her. But anyways, oh yeah.
And
So all files were destroyed in I believe 1973 or 19. They were ordered destroyed in 1972, and then the Church Committee of the U.S. Congress was able to figure out that this thing existed through sworn testimony in 1973. And also, I believe it was 1973 or 1974 when the Rockefeller Commission also looked into this. But we'll get there too. There's some interesting facts
the
that come up with that.
Rockefellers
Yeah. So it was a pretty honest
and their
commission.
toes. Yeah.
So yeah, and then there was a Freedom of Information request in 1977, which uncovered 20,000 documents and declassified documents in 2001, and a doctor in 2008 had disclosed that in experiments that he had done with the CIA, there was 6 dogs that were made through implants put in their brain to walk forward, to stop, and turn, and they could control them through remote control, like a little electro impulse.
Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy.
I know, it's like Neuralink in its infancy, right? Like the idea of like putting things into the motor cortex in a brain
To send the signals.
right. And so like what they're doing at Neuralink right now is taking the information from your brain and outputting it into a machine. And what they were doing back, and this is like in the 70s, they were taking information or electrical impulses from outside the brain and putting it into the brain, making it do something, which is like, I don't know. Have you ever played that game Inside?
Yeah.
So they got the like mind control puppets in the background with the helmet on. So
Yeah.
probably not far off from what's possible, my brother.
There was some like suit you can wear for like people who have like cerebral palsy and stuff, and they're always like shaking, and it will like send electron like signals through to like limit their shaking and everything.
Right? That's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also like one of the perks I think that's going to come from the experiments with like Neuralink. And there's another, I'm never going to remember the company's name. They're trying to make the same thing, but just a helmet for output. So you could output information from the brain just wearing this helmet to like detect different waves and so on. Yeah.
Man, that would be cool.
So yeah, I mean, that'd be badass. Like we just put on a helmet, play games, right? That's where I think of it all the time. Augmented in VR, AR and VR.
God, VR, you'll just be like this. You just think it.
Yeah, 100%. You just sit there with like a visor on and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And that'll be your whole computer. And
That'd be sweet.
yeah, I don't think we're far away as a civilization. What do we got to be, like a couple decades with the rate of improvement of technology? Unless we plateau for a while. 1 second. Shit, I was forgetting to focus on my face. But yeah, unless we like plateau technologically for a while, and like
Yeah.
stop creating these massive leaps in progress. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
kind of thought society was doing that for a while there, and then I don't know, all this new stuff's coming out. Like Neuralink became a thing, and I was like, okay, so we have no chill. We're not stopping at all, right?
No.
The sheer rate
No.
of innovation in the 21st century is mind-boggling at
Well,
best.
like the space race right now with like three fucking billionaires,
Yeah, you got
Elon,
Jeff.
Sir Richard
Yeah,
Branson, and Bezos.
yeah,
They're all
yeah. We got Jeffrey
yep.
Epstein, or it's Jeffrey Epstein. We got Jeff Bezos
Really,
like flying to space on his big cack,
yeah.
his cack
On his
ship,
big Amazon
his big
cack.
cack ship. Yeah, he literally is Doctor Evil. He just looks like him too. You see that Pope Burnham special?
No,
Or, really?
is it good?
He's got a song about Jeff Bezos. Come on, Jeffrey, you can do it. No, you gotta watch
No,
it. It's called Inside. He made the whole thing during quarantine, and he filmed it all in one room. And I don't know if you watch his old stuff.
no.
Well,
What's it called?
Inside by Bo Burnham.
Ins-
So his old
oh,
specials were more like stand-up comedy. There was What,
yeah.
and then after that was Make Happy, and Make Happy was his last live performance ever. And then he just had no chill. 5 years, he didn't ever really hit the spotlight. He did like one podcast with H3 that I know of, and then he made it, and that was for his movie that was coming out called Eighth Grade, which he directed and
Okay.
wrote, I believe, and that was filmed. So he like made the leap that like no one could do from like YouTube into mainstream media, right? And he did it
And
really
like
well.
directing. Jesus.
Yeah, he's just a genius. So, anyways, his new special Inside, just totally worth watching, man. It's
Yeah. I
way more philosophical and insightful than his previous stuff, but it's still pretty funny. And yeah, he's
added that to my watch later.
yeah, do it. Okay, so yeah, project leadership for MK Ultra to get back on track here.
Yeah.
The guy heading the program was Sidney Gottlieb, and did that under the order of Alan Dulles, and a few things about Alan Dulles. I think he was the first citizen director of the CIA, and he was for like a real long time. He went through a bunch of random stuff, but he was basically put in there at a time when they were competing with like the Cold War of nuclear armaments and the Cold War of like psychological and biological warfare was like at its
Yeah.
peak with between the CIA and
hmm
and the Red Stain, and yeah, so yeah, he's a pretty important character, especially when you hear about like some of the stuff he did. So he's the guy that's mostly responsible for the experimentation that the CIA actually did on their own people without their consent. And that's a big piece
Yeah.
of what's wrong with the MK Ultra experiments too, and why it was tried to be concealed, is because they were like breaking all these rules. For one, like Geneva Convention stuff, where they're basically waging war
Yeah.
against their own committing war crimes against their own citizens. They're experimenting on people without their consent. There's a bunch of crazy
Yeah.
stuff happened. But anyways, that Sidney Gottlieb was his Wikipedia named him as chemist, and then right after spy master. And yeah, he was headed the CIA. I believe he was a director, and he worked in the
Okay.
CIA from 1950s to 1960. So not the
Man,
entire
like,
project, but he's the one who started it. Hey,
see, this is where like that secret group always happens. They always take a step back and they're like, we're gonna go further than the rules allow us, and we're gonna do it on our own people.
yeah, and they just do, and we can't stop them. And then like, man, you remember under the Harper administration in Canada?
Mhm.
Was it Bill C-34, I think, or whatever? When he was,
Yeah.
it's basically the
the
Canadian
spe-
Patriot Act,
Yeah.
right? It's just like, yeah, we could just collect your information and data and use it to do whatever. And God, it's just such a wild misuse of our information and privacy, which was all really cool, right? Like, I get it. I think about it this way though, right? It's like, if I'm not doing anything wrong, I don't deserve to have my rights and privacy violated. And that's just, I don't know, a fundamental thing of life, right? It's like, if you don't think I'm killing anyone, then don't put a camera in my bathroom to watch me take showers, right? It's just like a
Yeah.
violation of my privacy. But sure, if you go
Exactly.
through the right systems and there's documentation saying, look, we suspect him of like serious crimes or whatever, and then you want to bug me, go for it, right? But it's when you're doing that for no reason, and I think that's really messed up. Like,
On
you know how
everyone.
many, like just like scraping data off the internet, they gotta have like so many dick pics cataloged for no reason, and then what are they doing with all those? But I mean,
Yeah.
but in all seriousness, right, when you look at corruption, and the way that like conspiracy podcasts I was listening to back in like 2016, 2017,
Yeah.
they were talking about this information. They're just think about the malicious ways in which the data can be used, and like metadata gives you a ton of information. And then this all accumulated into the previous couple elections in America, right? When Trump,
Well, yeah, like all those Russian like
yeah,
trolls nests or
exactly.
whatever. Like,
So like what was the problem? The problem wasn't really your own government misusing your information. It's the fact that they kept it and then they lost that information or sold it, who knows, to a group which then uses it to manipulate the very backbone of your democratic society. So
yeah,
that's fucking insidious, man. It's really
yeah,
bad. It's
like
yeah.
propaganda warfare, man. It's
And
crazy.
yeah, exactly. And that's something that's also like been picked up, like the propaganda warfare ever since World War II. It's just insane. Uh,
Hmm. Well,
every
like you
country
look
has
at
a
like,
whole different view of what's happening in the world.
oh yeah, like you look at like what South Korea or North Korea?
North Korea.
North Korea
Yeah.
right now, and it's like I I I didn't get to listen to the podcast with I forget her name, but she was on Joe Rogan's podcast recently, and like
Right.
that's pretty big stage for her. But she's been like trying to give shed light on what's going on in North Korea and stuff, because like North
Yeah.
Korea thinks they're like they don't even know what's going on, man.
No, yeah, they have
Oh,
no idea. And yeah, I
yeah,
think I heard, I forget her name, but she was on the Lex Friedman podcast
Lex,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah,
love
her,
me some Lex.
they have no idea, and they still think of it as home. Like no matter how much time they spend away, it's still the home to them. And
Hmm.
but yeah. So one of the crazy things that's happening right now in North Korea, like modern day news and conspiracy stuff, is like they've done this before, and they've always kind of kept their citizens at a certain level of starving. And then when they really need to crunch and flex on the country, they just pull away even more resources. And the UN will go to them and be like, "Look, take food, take this, take medicine," and they say, "No, no, no. We don't want that. We take care of our own people." But they're not taking care of their own people, right? So right now in North Korea, people are starving. And there's stories from like a couple decades ago when the government did this and like force starved a bunch of its citizens. And then,
Hmm.
so all you can think of when you get that hungry is just food, 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 right? There's literally nothing else.
It's
Because you're an
well, like
organism, right? So you need
as soon
that
as you're
caloric
like,
intake to maintain your existence. And so every instinct inside of you says eat something. And then what are you going to eat if there's nothing? You're surrounded by people. You eat people. And it happens
yeah,
every time. And it's
yeah,
going to happen right now. And it could be happening. It's probably happening right now in North Korea. No one's talking about it because we don't get in.
no,
And they
they
don't
don't
get
let
out.
anyone in for a reason.
Yeah. And they get out in
Like,
just record low numbers. Yeah.
yeah,
And I can't imagine just, it's nuts, man. If they weren't best friends with China, like they'd be glassed by now, 100%. Thermobaric rockets.
well, like
But yeah, it's the most
they
unfortunate
learned a
thing.
lot of tricks from China, though. You know,
Oh yeah. Well, and
you
then
go and
they sell a lot of people to China too, right? Into slavery
Mhm.
and sex slavery and child slavery.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, it's nuts stuff. So yeah, this all started with Spy Master, Sidney Gottlieb. We were talking about.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
okay, now let's get down to the stuff in Canada, right? So
Hmm.
in Canada, there was Sub Project 68. There was something like 147 sub projects in this, but whatever. So Sub Project
Hmm.
68 was headed by Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron, and it was
Okay.
he was from 1957 to 1964 involved in this whole experiment, and his name will come up in a future podcast when I talk about this Cindy chick, because he has
Okay.
a
Yeah.
couple friends. Anyways,
He has connections.
yeah. So he was involved. He was a psychologist, and I don't know. He did a bunch of messed up stuff, but some of the specific things that he participated in were mostly the non-volunteer things, right?
Yeah.
So it was forcing these experiments on them, including keeping people in comas and like playing lines on headphones in medically induced comas, and then playing lines through headphones through their head repeatedly for like 6 months
So
sometimes.
that was their only memory in the end.
And then sometimes you would use psychedelics in order to try and alter people's memories or give them triggers, right? To give them like a command, like you could walk up to them and you could be like 174Q Delta Alpha or whatever. And then they would, and then they go into mind control zombie mode. Is the whole idea behind
Yeah.
that. And then
They enter
they tried,
psychosis.
tried doing the same things with electroshock to the brain. And the
Mhm.
most unlucky people got a combination of all of these things. So you'd be like on psychedelics for 6 months while being in a medically induced coma while having your brain subjected. And that stuff like messed people up, man. Like that guy successfully reverted my LEDs are out of sync and now it's bothering me. Uh, Guys successfully reverted many human brains into that of a child, like just completely annihilated them and like had them like
Yeah.
hard reset. And these people basically end up being like uh, developmentally challenged for the rest of their life, even though they were a highly functioning adult at one point. That was
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, like you even look enough like LSD or mushrooms,
Yeah.
you talk to someone after and they're just like way out.
Where you give someone salvia, and as soon as they like reconscious, you're like, dude, what's going on? I remember my buddy Mark took salvia one time, and
Yeah.
he like, it's a pretty intense psychedelic,
Never
right?
done it.
Well, it like you go places, man, and it's like
Yeah.
5 minutes to the outside world, but to you, it's like
Business trip.
it could be like a big trip, it could be a vacation, it could be a
Yeah.
weekend, it could be like some people. There's a story on the internet of a guy on Reddit, and I totally believe this after experiencing salvia in my misplaced youth. But this one guy took salvia, and then
Yeah.
nothing happened. But anyways, so he went on and like finished school and like got a job and a career and met a woman and the woman of his dreams, and then they got married and had kids and had a family and everything. And then like one morning he woke up for coffee and drank his coffee, and then poof, back in his body when he did his salvia. He lived a whole life off one salvia trip. And he
Oh
came
my
back
God,
and
bro.
he was like medically dissociated and depressed for it for years, and they like took him years to fix him because he'd like experienced a whole lifetime in his neurochemicals.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
man,
he modeled
I could.
his brain modeled data into an entire lifetime. So
That's insane.
yeah, so my one time my buddy Mark came back, and then like some salvia trips pretty innocent. Anyways, my buddy Mark comes back, and I was like, so how was it? And he's like, dude, it's coming for us. And I was like, what's coming for us, bro? And he's like, it's always there. And I'm like, okay, man. And he's like, look, I can draw it for you. And I was expecting like something like super profound, right? It's kind of like, and actually, I'm gonna draw it right now because it's literally the
You
most.
just remember.
I remember it. You can't forget this one, man. So he draws it. Uh,
Oh my goodness, I can't wait.
he, he draws it, and he's like, "It's coming for us, man." It's a little fucking. It's like a sun with a smiley face, and apparently it was coming. So,
Well, it's gonna,
so that's
it's gonna red giant us. It's gonna explode.
yeah. So I mean, that's salvia, and I can imagine like combining those types of psychedelics with comas and electroshock therapy to your brain and all this stuff. Who knows what they could do, but definitely they mess you up for
Oh my
life.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just like I remember in my misplaced youth doing the mushroom trip with like a couple of buddies, and I was like, my I showed up, my friends already did it. I showed up late, and my one friend was already gone, like deer in the headlights. I looked at him, I was like, "Hey man," and he was like, he like walked into the other room to go sit by himself, and I was just like, "Okay, what the
Yeah,
hell?" Like
man.
I've never been lost like that.
Yeah, me either. But I always get the distinct feeling on mushrooms that they're like riding me like a meat suit. You know, like my brain becomes a mushroom, and then it's like that's why you look at your hands and you're like, right? Because you're like hands, like they move, and it's insane
Oh,
because if you were a mushroom, nothing's going on. And then all of a sudden you could like move and walk around, and like you always end up going for walks, right? You're like you want to experience
yeah,
motion and feel wind on your face and like touch the snow and lick the mirror. Like you just do all
like
kinds of crazy
live
stuff.
life in such like smell roses.
Yeah. I forget what it is, but I think like when because psilocybin like burns up in your nervous system and it increases the connections between your neurons,
Yep.
like the conductivity by like
Psilocybin,
20
like yeah.
fold or something. So you're
Mhm.
taking in a bunch of extra information.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
That multidisciplinary association of psychedelic studies does a bunch of stuff on psilocybin and stuff to
Mhm.
help people go through therapy for uh, post-traumatic stress and many other
Yeah,
disorders, including some
yeah,
work they've done on psilocybin as psychedelic psilocybin used in depression and severe anxiety cases, and
Yeah.
with massive success. Like the guy
Yeah.
thinks that stuff,
Raging success.
yeah, and that stuff will be like coming to market within probably the next 10 to 15 years.
Well, like you look at Amsterdam, it's been decriminalized and legalized for so long, and it's okay. Everyone's happy there.
Yeah,
Everyone's living their best life.
I gotta go check
And
out
like,
that. A lot of those places, they're super egalitarian over there. Like, I gotta go check it out. I'd love to go to like the Germany and Amsterdam and
mm,
all, what do you call that whole area? The Netherlands? Is that the region? I believe.
yeah, the Netherlands are right over there. If you keep moving like east
Yeah,
from Germany,
yeah.
I think.
So is Holland part of Holland is in the Netherlands, the Dutch, right? And then I
Hmm.
think Amsterdam is in there. Wait, was Amsterdam capital of Holland? No.
Here, I got the power.
No, the
Google it.
capital of Holland is Gouda or Gouda or whatever. Where's Amsterdam? Yeah, Google it. Power it.
Amsterdam. In the Netherlands, it's the Netherlands capital.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So is the Netherlands its own country? I don't know. Our European geography, man. All I know is that we're
Terrible.
America's hat, and the pom pom on our toque is America as well.
I'm never gonna be able to unsee that now.
That's what it looks like. So, a couple of the notable victims of MK Ultra, confirmed notable victims. This is a dude
Yeah.
named Harold Blauer. He's a tennis player in 1953, and he went to New York State Psychiatric for depression from divorcing his wife. And
Yeah.
I believe it was that Dr. Donald Wu and Cameron guy who gave this guy such an outrageous amount of MDA that he just died straight up without his notice. The
Just
guy's like, look,
turned
I'm
out.
depressed. My wife's leaving me. He's like, no problem. I fix you. And then he's like, whoops, the doodles. Dead.
Yeah.
100% dead.
In his notes, minus half.
Results promising, but not conclusive. Side effects may include death. And then this one is huge. So this is a really famous case, and this is one about the CIA experimenting on their own people. And it was this guy named Frank Olson at November 28th, 1953, at 2:25 in the morning. He supposedly committed suicide from the 10th story of his apartment building. Mm-hmm. So this guy he was a bacteriologist in like creating bioweapons with the CIA. It was part of like an arms race for that stuff. Suicide from the 10th floor of a hotel room. Yeah, it was a hotel room, not his apartment. And it was the Statler Hotel in New York. And Sidney Gottlieb, right?
Yeah.
We talked about him. He was like heading the project at that time. Was pretty confirmed to have been like abusing this guy, like, you know, kind of like psychologically, and like randomly dosing him with LSD
In his coffee or something. Like
100%. Like, oh, good morning,
Yeah.
Sydney, and then Sydney's just like, you know, like having a day.
And then for the rest of that day, they're trying all their little tricks on him.
Yeah, and this went on for like an extensive period of time. And then all of a sudden, this guy decides to jump from the 10th story of the Statler Hotel. And you go look at the windows at the Statler Hotel, it's like this big. It's just a little guy. And then he also like hung his socks up to dry after washing them right before he committed suicide. So I don't know if they
that doesn't make sense.
Well, they might have just dosed him with such a significant amount of LSD that he's like, ooh, and goes out the window. Or more confirmed from the morticians or the people that forensics or whatever did forensics on his body, see what happened, is that a lot of his wounds were not consistent with a fall, and it seemed to imply that he was beaten significantly before he died. So we think probably Gottlieb thought the guy was defecting, or like, what do you call it, double agent, and just interrogated and beat the crap out of him.
Oh my god, man. I don't want to be that smart one day where I'm caught in that situation.
Yeah, I can't believe I've done this whole thing not in full screen. Anyways, yeah, dude, I don't know. That could happen to you. I'll do that for you one day. I promise.
You'll beat me and push me out the Statler?
No, LSD.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah. And then here's everyone's favorite, also pretty significantly messed up portion of MK Ultra, and it was called Operation Midnight Climax. Have you heard about this one?
No, no,
Not at all.
no.
Dude,
Oh
this is
gosh.
okay. So this is towards like the end of the project. So
Yeah.
it was,
Well, climax is usually near the end, right?
yeah, it was it was a sub project put on by this guy called uh George White. So basically what they did was they got a bunch of prostitutes, and they had these prostitutes lure men, and then they would prostitute these men, right? Like have sex with them and stuff. And then they'd also be like uh, laced with LSD or MDMA or like on all these drugs, and they would like try to like mind control them and electroshock or like medically induced comas like during the sexual process, and
Yeah,
also big one on interrogation, right? Without all these
yeah.
guys' consent. And this dude, George White, was working with the CIA, would like film it, all of it, and there'd be like a bunch of CIA guys behind a one-way mirror. So this was like the sexiest accumulation, but also it's really perverse and weird. And like that George White guy was a serious creep, man. This is one of his quotes. This is one of his quotes. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All Highest? Yeah, so he was pretty into this stuff.
Yeah, he was full bore.
Yeah, and yeah, so that was called Operation Midnight Climax. The CIA has like famously some of the greatest names. There's other sub projects, I can't remember their exact names. Regardless,
Midnight climax. So
yeah,
like what? Do these girls like have like little strips on them like in
yeah.
and
I
while
mean,
they're touching the guy they just it absorbs to him or something
yeah, or
like
like pour him a drink. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Let's do all this
God.
stuff. Be laced in different ways, right? Like there's that one. There's been a couple cases of like guys like just being poked with an umbrella that like contains ricin, and then that poisons them, and then
Yeah.
they die, right? Not in MK Ultra,
Yeah.
but it just exists, right? So there's a lot
Yeah.
of ways to get a substance into somebody, but yeah. So they tried all these different things, and that was kind of a little offshoot. It actually went on for years too. So again, this is at like the height.
That's a lot of videotape of.
Oh man, I know, and it probably made them like money and like all kinds of wild stuff. And then also, obviously, George White used it to blackmail these guys, so they weren't just anybody's; they were like specific
Higher.
people that he had chosen. Yeah,
Yeah, to pull power.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then what we talked about it earlier, the Rockefeller Commission or whatever, right? But Nelson
Mhm.
Rockefeller in 1963, no, uh, Nelson Rockefeller. When was this? I think it was in the 70s. Anyways, he looked into the uh, MK Ultra experiments, and
Mhm.
his commission was pretty quickly shut down because it quickly led to links to the JFK assassination.
Oh no.
Yeah, the JFK assassination of 1963, and there's some other weird things going on at that time, like these two guys that were. Have you ever heard of the Watergate burglars?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so those two guys, the Watergate guys, were also in Dallas, Texas in 1963 during the JFK assassination. E. Howard Hunt and Franklin Sturgis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were there
Man.
too. It's all just the MK Ultra is like a slippery slope of conspiracy. It's pretty
Yeah.
easy to like segue
Man, I feel
into.
like through like the 50s and like 80s, so much like private power groups just formed
Yeah.
and it created
Dude,
such a
post
mess,
World
man.
War II, right? Everything's ramped up for production of
Yeah.
like crazy war times, like literally end times level warfare. And
Yeah.
you got to keep your technology advanced enough to compete with all these other super powerful nations. And then the whole military industrial complex is ramped up to never
Oh,
before seen levels. And boom, the war's over. Now, what are you going to do with all those resources? So everyone put all those resources into just the most outrageous experiments and war crimes we've ever seen,
yeah.
including the Vietnam War and
Oh my God.
yeah,
Like
and these
it's
intelligence
crazy.
agencies too, right? It was after that point. This is when everything went crazy. Like everything started losing its mind post World War II. So post World War II world is a world full of lies, secrets, and conspiracies.
Oh yeah.
Quote SamwellKrom, August 2021.
If you commit suicide, I know it wasn't suicide.
If yeah. Oh, who's that other dude, man? McAfee, that McAfee guy, the guy who made the antivirus
Oh
software.
yeah.
He suicided
Yeah.
himself recently too, and he literally had
What?
he
No,
yeah.
no shot. Because I remember like a
So
year and a half ago he came out.
and he
Yeah.
was like, if I ever die by suicide, I didn't kill myself. Yeah, he died recently, and I still have to look into that. He suicided himself,
Oh
man.
no. Oh no.
And
Because
he had some dirt because his whole thing was in cybersecurity and antivirus, so
yeah.
he
Well,
knew some
he
shit.
was. I'm pretty sure he had connections to Snowden with that stuff.
Yeah,
And like Snowden's out, he's gone.
yeah,
Russians are like, we keep you safe, dog.
yeah. That's
But
another
like,
future episode we got to get into is the McAfee suicide case.
yeah, because like I remember, yeah, about a year ago or something, I was listening to a different podcast, and yeah, it was right around the time McAfee was like making headlines of his his shit, and I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
I didn't know he killed. Ooh, I gotta look into that now.
for sure, brother.
Yeah.
All right, so it's been a hot minute. Why don't we call the podcast here? My name is SamwellKrom on Twitch and YouTube, and hopefully in the near future, actual podcast services so you can listen to this thing in audio format. Also, it's good to be back, guys. This thing's going to be regular now. I'm going to be doing it every week, once a week. Sponsored by me, SamwellKrom. Yeah, true story.
And
My life
sponsored by
is
love.
my life is disgusting and awkward. Is there anything you'd like to promote on the channel, like a Instagram page, or also follow me on Instagram, everyone, same name. If there's anything you want to promote, now's the time.
I got nothing.
Really,
I play Apex
you don't even have
solo.
any like wisdom for the future generation of mankind? Stay in school. Don't do drugs. Don't
Nope.
trust the prostitutes with LSD.
Read what's his name? Oh, why am I blanking on it now? The Unabomber's Manifesto.
Oh,
Read that.
that one's messed up.
That is juicy though. It honestly applies so much to what's going on to everywhere.
Yeah. All right.
But
Many
stay safe,
future
kids.
podcasts to come. I will see you guys later. Peace out.